You're lying in bed. It's sometime past midnight. The house is quiet, and your dog is doing that thing again, the slow circle, the careful repositioning, the gradual press of their body against your leg until they've claimed roughly 80% of the mattress and left you balanced on the remaining edge like a guest in your own bed. They have a bed. You bought it. It's in the corner of the room, probably still has the tags on it, and they haven't touched it in weeks. There's a couch downstairs, a rug by the radiator, a warm patch of floor where the afternoon sun hits every day at 4. They have options, and every single night they walk past all of them and choose you. Most people assume this is about warmth, maybe comfort. Maybe they're just a little clingy and it's become a habit. But when researchers started putting this behavior under a microscope, when they started measuring what's actually happening in your dog's brain and body during those hours pressed against you in the dark, what they found turned a simple bedtime routine into one of the most complex expressions of trust, attachment, and evolutionary biology that exists between any two species on this planet. And it starts with something most people never think to question. Why would a dog choose to be unconscious next to a human 15 times its size? The warmth theory sounds reasonable. Dogs run a baseline body temperature between 100 and 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit. They seek heat. You're warm. Simple thermodynamics. But here's the problem with that explanation. If warmth was the primary driver, your dog would choose the radiator. The sunny patch, off the pile of laundry fresh from the dryer. All of those are warmer and more consistent than a human who moves, snores, and occasionally steals the blanket back. The second common explanation is habit. They started sleeping with you as a puppy, and they never stopped. That's partially true, but it doesn't explain why dogs who were crate trained for years will, the moment they're given the choice, bypass every other surface in the house and end up pressed against their owner. Something else is happening. Something that has less to do with temperature and more to do with what sleep actually means to an animal whose ancestors survived by never letting their guard down. Sleep is the most vulnerable state any animal can enter. In every survival instinct your dog carries, instincts inherited from thousands of years of predator-prey dynamics, is designed to keep them alert, aware, and ready to move. When they're unconscious, all of that goes offline. Muscles relax. Awareness drops. The ability to detect and respond to threats effectively disappears. For a wild canid, choosing the wrong place to sleep could be fatal. This isn't abstract evolutionary history. This is active biological programming that runs in the background of your dog's nervous system every single night. And instead of finding a hidden corner, a sheltered spot, somewhere enclosed and defensible, your dog walks across the house and climbs into bed next to a creature that outweighs them by a factor of 10. That decision is not casual. In 1998, a research team led by Josef Topal at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest did something no one had tried before. They took Ainsworth's strange situation procedure, the gold standard test psychologists use to measure attachment bonds between human infants and their mothers, and adapted it for dogs. They tested 51 dog owner pairs through a series of separations and reunions in an unfamiliar room, measuring proximity seeking, distress during absence, and the calming effect of reunion. The results were striking. 61% of dogs tested were classified as securely attached to their owners. That's not just a high number. It's almost exactly the same proportion found in studies of human toddlers and their primary caregivers. The same proximity seeking, the same distress when separated, the same visible relief when reunited. The attachment system your dog is running is not a rough analogy to the human version. It is functionally the same architecture. When your dog chooses to sleep beside you, they are performing the most fundamental behavior in attachment psychology, seeking closeness to their safe person at the moment of greatest vulnerability. They're not being clingy. They're telling you, in the clearest language their biology allows, that you are the safest thing in their world. But the attachment bond is only the first layer, because what's happening chemically during those hours of contact goes even deeper. In 2015, a team led by Miho Nagasawa at Azabu University in Japan published a study in the journal Science, one of the most prestigious scientific publications on the planet, that they measured oxytocin levels in 30 dog owner pairs during interaction. Oxytocin is the neurochemical your brain releases during bonding, the same molecule that floods a mother's system when she holds her newborn for the first time. What they found was extraordinary. When a dog and their owner engaged in mutual gaze, oxytocin rose in both of them simultaneously. Not sequentially, simultaneously, across species. The dog's oxytocin went up, which made them gaze more, which raised the owner's oxytocin, which made the owner gaze back, which raised the dog's oxytocin further. A self-reinforcing neurochemical loop between two entirely different species. Then they ran the same protocol with wolves that had been raised by humans from birth. The loop didn't activate, not partially, not weakly, it didn't fire at all. And this mechanism co-evolved specifically between dogs and humans. No other animal on Earth triggers it. Now consider what happens during physical contact. Separate research has shown that just 10 minutes of petting produces measurable drops in cortisol, the stress hormone, in both the dog and the human. Think about what 8 hours of sleeping pressed together does to that equation. Every night, your dog's nervous system is running a sustained biochemical exchange with yours that no other species can access. And this isn't new. This has been happening for a very long time. In 1914, archaeologists excavating a site in Bonn Oberkassel, Germany, uncovered a burial dated to roughly 14,000 years ago. 2 humans interred together, and beside them, 2 dogs. But the detail that changes everything is this. One of those dogs had survived severe canine distemper. It's a disease that kills most animals within weeks. Veterinary analysis of the remains show this dog had been sick for over 5 weeks. Someone had nursed that animal through its illness 14,000 years ago, in a world with no veterinary medicine, no antibiotics, no reason to invest that kind of care in an animal, unless that animal was family. Dogs are the only species domesticated before agriculture, before farming, before cities, before writing. Roughly 15,000 years ago, the friendliest wolves began approaching human camps, drawn by scraps and warmth. The ones least likely to flee survived better. They passed on those traits. Generations later, they weren't wolves anymore. And in 2017, a team at Princeton, led by Bridget von Holt, identified the genetic signature of that transformation. Domestic dogs carry structural variants in 2 genes, GTF2I and GTF2IRD1, that wolves don't have. In humans, the deletion of these same genes causes Williams-Beuren syndrome, a condition characterized by extreme sociability and a compulsive drive to approach and connect with other people. Your dog's impulse to press against you at night isn't a personality quirk. It's written into their genome. Selected for across 15 millennia specifically, so they would want to be near you. Here's a study that nobody talks about because the finding seems impossible at first. In 2017, researcher Lois Cron and her team at the Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, Arizona, measured the sleep quality of 40 adults and their dogs over 7 consecutive nights using clinical-grade actigraphy, wrist-worn motion trackers that record every movement through the night. The objective data was clear. Dogs disrupted human sleep. Movement, repositioning, the occasional 3 a.m. stretch that takes out your ankle. By every measurable standard, sleep efficiency was lower when the dog was in the bed. And yet, almost every single participant reported feeling more comfortable, more secure, and more rested with their dog in the room. How is that possible? A separate study helps explain it. In 2018, researcher Christy Hoffman at Canisius College in Buffalo, New York, surveyed 962 women about their sleep habits. Published in the journal Anthrozoos, the findings showed that dogs were rated as less disruptive than human bed partners, more comforting, more consistent. Hoffman's follow-up work using motion trackers found that owners were waking up briefly every time the dog moved, but almost never remembered it in the morning. The physical interruptions were real, but the felt experience of safety was stronger than the disruption. Think about that for a moment. The psychological benefit of sleeping beside a trusted companion, of having a warm, breathing presence that your nervous system recognizes as safe, may be more important to restorative sleep than uninterrupted silence and darkness. We spent most of human history sleeping in groups. The isolated, solo bedroom is the evolutionary exception, not the rule. Maybe your dog isn't ruining your sleep. Maybe they're restoring something more ancient than sleep hygiene. But there's one more finding that takes this from interesting to genuinely profound, and it changes what's happening in your bed from a comfort choice into a neurological event. In 2024, a team led by Sani Sompi at the University of Jyväskylä in Finland published a study in Scientific Reports. They monitored heart rate variability, HRV, in 30 dog owner pairs across 6 different conditions. Heart rate variability is one of the most reliable measures of autonomic nervous system function. High HRV means you're relaxed and regulated. Low HRV means your stress response is activated. What they found was this. During every condition measured, dogs and their owners showed correlated HRV patterns. When the owner was calm, the dog was calm. When the owner was stressed, as the dog's autonomic state shifted to match. The synchronization was present across all conditions, but it was strongest during rest. They tested the same protocol with dogs and unfamiliar humans. No synchronization at all. This only happens within bonded pairs. Read that again. 2 separate nervous systems, 2 different species, co-regulating each other through the night. Your heartbeat slows, and somewhere in the body, pressed against your leg, a matching rhythm settles into place. Not because of training, not because of habit, because 2 nervous systems that have spent months calibrating to each other have learned to breathe in the same direction. That is what is happening in your bed at 2 in the morning. Not warmth, not habit. A neurological event 15,000 years in the making. There's one last thing worth knowing, and it might be the most important part of this video. If your dog has been sleeping beside you for months or years, and one day they stop, don't brush it off. Dogs are creatures of deep routine. When a firmly established behavior disappears overnight, there is always a reason. Sometimes it's environmental, a new pet, a new person in the house, a shift in your schedule. Dogs are exquisitely sensitive to changes in their territory. Something that feels minor to you can feel seismic to them, but sometimes it's physical. Veterinary researchers have documented that changes in sleep location are one of the earliest behavioral signs of pain, appearing before limping, before stiffness, before any obvious physical symptom. A dog who stops jumping onto the bed might not have suddenly decided they prefer the floor. They might be hurting. And in older dogs, disrupted sleep patterns are the hallmark symptom of canine cognitive dysfunction, the dog equivalent of dementia. It affects an estimated 35% of dogs over 8 years old. If the nightly ritual changes, pay attention. Your dog doesn't have language. Behavior is the only way they can tell you something is wrong. So the next time you wake up at 3 in the morning with 6 inches of mattress and 80 pounds of dog pressed against your legs, remember what's actually happening. Your dog chose you. Not the couch, not the floor, not the warm patch by the radiator. You. Because 15,000 years of evolution, a neurochemical loop that no other species on Earth shares with us, an attachment system built to mirror the bond between parent and child, and 2 nervous systems that have learned, night after night, yet to regulate each other in the dark, all pointed at one thing. Sleeping beside you is the safest place in their world. And honestly, the science suggests it might be doing something for you too. If this changed how you see your dog tonight, subscribe to this channel and drop a comment below. I want to know, Wamani, where does your dog sleep? And if you want to understand why your dog stares at you with those eyes, that's the next video. The science behind it is even stranger than you'd expect.